Good evening, Mr. Haritha and Mr. Yasinta.
Good evening. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Will you be able to switch on the camera while we are going through?
Yes. I guess my camera input is there, right?
Just a minute. Yeah. Yes. Mr. Yasinta, can you hear me? Tamada, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you, Aki. Yes.
Oh, Mr. Yasinta, I'm sorry, but am I audible to you? Because I can't hear you. I'm not sure, but maybe he's not in the laptop right now. Mr. Danika, good evening. Am I audible to you?
Hello, this is Madhu.
Yes, sir. Yeah. You are audible, sir. I couldn't confirm with Mr. Danika and Mr. Yasinta. I couldn't confirm with them actually. Not sure why.
Hi, hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir. Yes, we can hear you now.
Great.
Okay. Team, it's 7:01. Are we admitting people in? Yes, so people are coming in, but still it's 7:02 and it's really good to be on time. So we'll start. And first of all, a very good evening to all of you. And we are just, yeah, the number of people here is like, in the waiting room is overwhelming. And Our team is trying to get them all inside, so bear with us for a couple of minutes. Yes, once again, a very good evening to all of you who are here with us today. And thank you for taking your time off this Friday evening, which I believe is the most awaited evening of the entire week. So, first, before starting our event, actually, we shall have a quick look at a video that has been created by the INCODE team to present you what this INCODE project is, because more than me talking for around 10-15 minutes about this project, it will be easier and more interesting if you were to look at a video. So first we will have a brief look at what this project is through a video.
Model, which was branded the world's first practical pocket computer and was completed with a calculator, watch, and other familiar applications. About a decade later, the world's first smartphone arrived. In 1993, IBM included many utility applications such as Psion 2. The next leap in app technology BlackBerry smartphone was launched in 2002 and the company introduced email capabilities to their phones. In its first decade, the App Store has surpassed all our expectations, from the innovative apps that the developers dreamed of to the way consumers have applied the applications in their daily lives. We cannot be prouder of what the developers have created and stored in for the next 10 years. In the third quarter of 2021 alone, the App Store had nearly 34 billion downloads of apps, with 86.7 billion downloads over the entire period of 2020. Google Play 2020 was responsible for 108.5 billion downloads, whereas iOS was responsible for 34.4 billion downloads. This is your chance to learn about mobile application technology, which has revolutionized the modern technology. INCODE X is the latest project presented by the GetSync Club of Sri Lanka Technological Campus.
Yes. So we all know that the mobile phone plays an important role in all our daily lives. And when it comes to the mobile phone, what makes it so interesting is actually the mobile applications, because without all these very interesting and very curious applications on this mobile phone, it would just be a piece of electronic equipment that has been built together and with no curiosity actually. So when it comes to the students at SLTC, the students at SLTC are also minded towards curiosity. They are also interested in all these areas that have not been catered earlier. So one of the most important groups at SLTZ is the GetSync Club, and by this club they do these various things that are required to ensure the capability of the students to meet the industrial requirements, which is actually something important, but yet not accessed much in the university area, because when it comes to a university, what we mostly focus is on academics. We focus on studies, we focus on our academics, but we rarely focus on what we need to be equipped with when it comes to meeting the final destination, the industry. So this INCODE project is one of these things that have been done by the GetSync Club in order to provide the students within the campus and also around the globe to get an idea, to get exposure, and to have a really exciting feeling on mobile application development. So this is not just mobile application development. This is not just another competition that students are required to make a mobile application and get on with it. But this is one step ahead of all those competitions, and this competition particularly is focusing on the innovative mobile application development. So when it comes to this term, when it comes to telling that we are doing a competition in innovative mobile application development, people are a bit stunned actually, because what is an innovative mobile application? What is different in this? So in this case, we have done a previous panel discussion as well to provide our competitors and also the basically the general community on what an innovative mobile application is and what not in this area. So today also we have 4 reputed industry specialists, I could say, from Virtusa, Basha, and Singapore Airlines, and also from Microsoft, some really good and really educated panelists we have here today. And these include co-founder at Virtusa, Mr. Madhu Ratnayaka, CEO of Basha, Mr. Danika Pereira, and a Microsoft MVP, artificial intelligence, deep learning enthusiast, Mr. Haritha Tilakaratna, and finally, user experience strategist at Singapore Airlines, Mr. Jacinta Pereira. So a very good evening to all four of you who have taken your time of busy schedules and the most interesting evening of your week and being with us here today. And before starting on with the panel discussion, I would like to invite all of you all to give a very brief introduction about yourselves. So first of all, Mr. Madhu Ratnayaka, will you be able to take on the virtual podium and give us brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
and
sir.
See me. I'm Madhu Ratnayaka. Actually, I'm right now not with Vitusa. I left Vitusa in the beginning of the year. I was with Vitusa for last 25 years. I was the last CIO of Vitusa. And in January, we started a new company called Cybers, which is into cybersecurity. I chair that company right now. So that's what I do at the moment. Right? In addition to that, I sit on a few other boards of technology companies and financial services companies in the country. So that's a little bit about me. I'm looking forward to the discussion with you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Danica Pereira.
Hi, good evening, all of you. So I'm Danica. I actually founded several local software products, Helakuru, Pay Here, and HelaPay, and few others. And also I'm providing the leadership for my software development company, technology company, Basha.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Mr. Haritha Tilakaratna.
Hi, I'm Haritha Tilakaratna. I'm a graduate researcher at La Trobe University in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm also acting as an independent consultant in the data science, machine learning, and the deep learning space. Also contributing as a Microsoft most valuable professional for almost 5 or 6 years now. So a frequent face in most of the technological meetups and also doing tech events and handling the meetup space in Sri Lanka and also in Australia. It's really happy to be with you today in the evening.
So we are happy to have you here as well. And finally, we have Mr. Jacinta Pereira. Sir, can you hear me, Mr. Jacinta? Yes, I believe Mr. Jacinta is having a technical issue. Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible now. Mr. Jacinta, I believe you're muted again.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Hi, I'm Jacinta. I'm currently working as a UX designer in UX strategist in the Singapore Airlines, and I have 6 years experience in UX and UI design. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So thank you for your self-introductions, and I believe that participants here today.
Recording in progress.
Which counts up to around 45 through Zoom, and we have more people joining through live streamed medias as well. So I hope that everyone got an understanding, got an idea on how reputed the panel members are and how experienced they are when it comes to talking about what we are going to talk about today. So when I listened to the self-introductory speeches of our guest speakers, I thought that this first question is I believe that Mr. Danica Pereira will be capable to answer this question a lot better, because this is the traditional starting question for this panel discussion. And since you have been in the field and you have made a couple of innovative applications yourself, I believe that you will be able to cater this question a lot. So, sir, in your perspective, what do you think is an innovative mobile application is?
Yeah, actually, a good way to start the discussion. So when it comes to a mobile application, what we have to understand right now, the way actually the mobile application was perceived some time ago is actually now changed, right? I mean, with my experience, I started my journey as a undergraduate like you. I mean, I started my company while I was in the third year in the university. So at that time, actually, mobile applications are quite new. I mean, there were very less mobile applications developed locally and even globally for the users. It was a new experience, right? I mean, so that actually there were so many opportunities for entrepreneurs, startups to come up with mobile applications which actually solve a problem, and to even build companies. And our company is actually a company like that, which actually started with a mobile application and evolved into a multi-product company, right? But right now, what we have seen, right? I mean, right now, the mobile smartphones, Apple, Android smartphones has become actually the device that everyone use, right? And it has the computing power, which, the computers, even the old day computers did not have, right? So that means today the mobile has become the computer of this era, right? So that means everyone has a computer now in hand, in terms of users, in terms of people, right? And even for the professional things, even for the work stuff, even right now, users use their personal devices even for their work life, right? So that is right now actually a mobile application can be introduced as an interface for any kind of a software system, right? So right now it's not just actually not actually a new thing, but actually every software system in the world right now having an interface for this little computer in everyone's hands, right? So the perception of, or the role of mobile application has come to a level like that. So when it has actually come to a level like that, innovative mobile application, for it to be an innovative mobile application, it cannot actually do the same common stuff that is being done with the millions or billions of mobile applications out there, right? You shared the video, and it had stats of how many Android apps, how many iOS apps are right now there in the world. So if it is to be an innovative mobile application, you should actually find out, it's not about technology, not much about technology, but you should find actually what is actually the problem that you are going to solve by coming up with a mobile application. So if you have a uniqueness of what you actually do with your mobile application, and that is actually we can call as an innovative mobile application, and that will add a unique value to people, to the users, and you will have a long way to go with that kind of an innovative mobile application.
Okay, sir. So that is what an innovative mobile application according to what Mr. Danika Pereira's perspective. So, Mr. Madhu Ratnayaka, could you emphasize on the term innovative when it comes to the industry perspective? What does this innovation means when it comes to industry? Because when it comes to academia, we sure do have very, I'm pretty sure that our definition is a little bit, not little bit, but actually a larger scale different than what you say as innovative. So, sir, could you explain on what the industry views as innovative?
Yeah, thanks. So I think when you really talk about innovation, what in the industry level, what we are really looking at, is there a creative way of solving a problem, right? Is there a new and novel ways of looking at something, combining different areas of expertise, different areas of capabilities? It's bringing together new pathways to solve a problem, compared to inventions you may think about, which is really about, coming up with some breakthrough technology, coming up with something, deep rooted thing. And innovations can happen every day, right? Innovation is really about doing things differently, thinking about something very differently, and addressing a problem, right? Is anything that helps you address a problem in a new and a novel way, in a very simple sense, is an innovation, right? And I think that's the difference between innovation and invention, which is invention is probably a more groundbreaking and a more broader thing. Whereas innovation is something that you want to do every day and keep changing, right? And in a more enterprise or industry way, we want to do innovation every day, right? We want to be able people to come up and really think about. Sometimes it might be a very small thing, fine tuning some small use case, help somebody to do maybe some payment better or pay something creatively, or it could be a big thing about coming up with a new platform to maybe create a new marketplace, right? So it could be a very simple thing from solving a small problem to a pretty large problem, but it's all about looking at things in a fresh and a new perspective, which and combining most of the time different ways of doing things. So that's a way I look at, or try to differentiate from what do you call innovation, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, sir. And my next question is for Mr. Haritha Tilakaratne, actually. So since you said that you are in this Microsoft MVP, and that you are really visible in most of these tech forums. So I just wanted to ask this question because when it comes to what we think, we believe that mobile application development, it is has a very what do you call, a very important hype, that it is very popular, and it is it has a quite interest when it comes to us. So is it really so? Is what we are doing here today and what all these projects and everything, are these really important? Does mobile applications have this hype that we believe it does? So
Yes, that's a good question, because when it comes to the mobile applications, or when it comes to the tech space that we are working today, everyone is doing most of their things with the mobile devices they are having. Previously, when we talking about the computers, if we go for 80s or 90s, we were talking about some set of electronic devices or some set of silicon chips that was sitting on big rooms or something like that. Then it came to our desk, and then it came to our lap, and then it went to our pocket. So everyone is using the mobile phones even for work, and sometimes some people are not having proper computers, like the proper box type computers with their hand at all the time to do their work. So with these device transformation is going on, definitely mobile applications has taken most of our lives, day-to-day activities. Think of the 24 hours that we spend on a day, and think of how much of time we spend on looking on the small screens that we have in our pocket. So we are almost attached for the social media, plus or might be for the working apps that we have on the mobile applications. So yeah, this is very timely. Since we are more attached for the mobile devices and we are more attached for the devices that we can carry here and there. So that becomes having innovative applications in those devices has become a timely need today. So definitely this is going to be a good time to talk about like innovative app development, or making sure like we are getting the correct user experience and we are getting the correct outcome from the applications that we use on mobiles.
Yes, thank you, sir. And my next question is directed to Mr. Jacinto Pereira, because as Mr. Haritha said, our innovative applications, they are required to ensure that the users gain the maximum experience. The users are capable to do what they really want to do using these applications. So when it comes to something that is innovative, when it comes to the students that are trying to do this project, maybe the competition, just for the scope of this competition even. So when they're trying to do something innovative, they might miss the point of ensuring that this application is in fact user friendly. That when it comes, students might go in depth for making this more innovative, and they might forget that they are required to make the user experience well as well. So do you have any comments on that? So this innovation and giving a good and ideal user experience through the mobile application go hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree. Innovation and this user experience actually. So when we talk about that, actually, I remember my days in the university that we are always thinking about the function. Okay, we need this much of functions to pass the project or something like that. So when it is actually we miss the whole UI UX thing when we doing the projects. So when we are thinking about user experience, so we have to come up with the flows actually. So password reset flow or sign up flows. So we are thinking this is going to be like this, but everyone is not understanding. So we have to sketch those ideas into one mood board so that everyone can view. So then they are thinking, okay, this is the next step. And once this click this button, okay, this will happen. So likewise, we can think without hesitation. Otherwise, if we think everything in our mind, so we miss the point. So when you are solving a problem, it is better to write down everything and do the research and what are the similar application we have. So innovation is not need to be everything new. So it can be two function in two apps. So when we are combining both together, so it is a new one. So it is kind of new innovation that users can easily use and they use day-to-day life. So I think we must focus on the UI UX first. I mean the user experience first. Then we can think about the UI. So and when thinking about the UI, we can consider colors. What are the style guide we need to follow? Likewise.
Yes. So yeah, that is, I believe that these set of questions actually laid the foundation for the students to start this project, or to enter this competition with an understanding about innovation, invention, and how to make all their concepts through a single mobile application. But I would like to ask Mr. Danika Pereira once again, so that when it comes to this thinking process, we all think differently. And when it comes to innovation as well, what I might view as innovative might not be that much innovative to you. That is based on actually how we think. So when it comes to the industry, it is required for all of us to think in a specific way that what we give is acceptable as innovative for the industry. So how do you identify this? Where do you actually draw the line between useless and innovative when it comes to the industry?
Yeah, very valid question. Actually, I mean, when you are coming up with a new product or a new mobile application, uh, we 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 uh, we identify something as idea validation, right? I mean, when you come up with a new idea to develop a product, to develop a software, to develop a mobile application, an important part is actually validating your idea, whether your idea is actually valid or whether that can actually executed as a useful product to the market, right? So when you are actually validating your idea, you have to do few things. First thing is actually, I mean, we as people, we come up with many ideas, right? I mean, in our day-to-day life, when we see the things around us and we see the problem situations, we actually come up with ideas, right? I mean, to solve, to provide some sort of a solution for them. And sometimes actually a common mistake that we do, when we come up with an idea, we don't actually research whether this problem has already been solved, right? And that is actually an important step. You have to research. I mean, in terms of research, it's not actually a big thing right now. You can Google, you can find on Play Store and App Store whether there are apps already available to solve this problem or to actually fill this gap, right? So in that way, you can see what others have been done already. I mean, towards actually we are solving this problem, or actually providing a solution for this problem. So then actually that when you actually get to know what others have been done, that can actually lead to two things. One thing is actually your idea may be not valid. It may have been already solved. So that, I mean, you don't see much potential of again doing that. We call it as reinventing the wheel, right? There's no point of reinventing the wheel. But the second part, you may actually have, you may be able to get more ideas, which actually helps you to improve your initial idea, right? That's how actually ideas grows and ideas come to a level, comes to an executable level, right? Just an idea pops in your mind may not be suitable to directly execute. You have to actually do the research, do what others have been done, and then actually you can share your idea with your friends and families and your, the people around you, and get their ideas, they get their criticism. Sometimes actually we when we come up with a new idea, we think, okay, this will be the $1 million idea. This will be the next revolution, like a feeling we get. But when we actually share with a friend or share with someone actually, who we can share with, one comment from a person can change entirely your thinking process, your thinking pattern. Maybe he can actually complement your idea and add it more so that you can improve your idea, or maybe he can point out a very failure point of your idea, right? So few things. Do your research whether it is what already has been done by others for this, and then actually share with them. There's also a misconception of or a fear of our people, especially students, of sharing ideas, right? I mean, most of us think that, I mean, okay, if I share my idea, some other one, some other will actually steal that, and they do it. But that not going to happen, right? You don't have to fear about that, because you only have the big picture. When you come up with an idea, you only have the big picture. Okay, this is what I'm going to do with this. What you tell as your idea is only a small piece of your big picture. So you don't have to fear about actually sharing your ideas. Share as much as possible. When you share, you will get more ideas, more improvements, more criticism, so that you can improve your idea. And then only you can actually think of starting about the execution of your idea. So it really matters.
So, listening to that, I got another question actually. So I believe since Mr. Madhu Ratnayaka has the most experience in the industry, that he will be able to answer my question well. So my question is, like, when we start as a student, when we start researching something, and we might have this a very basic idea, or even a very complex idea. But when we start researching and when we see some things that have been done related to it, or that we could link together, what happens is most of the time the final output that comes out of the mind is not actually what we had earlier, but something that we could say as a copy of what we have studied through the internet. So it happens, I think it happens to the better of us. So are there any etiquettes when it comes to the industry to help avoid this copying happening, and to make sure that that we only research and we do not get all these singular elements from what we research and make our initial idea to a fruit salad? How do we do that? Are there any etiquettes? Are there any methods that the students can follow?
That's a tough question. So you're asking how to not to copy, is it?
I'm asking whether there are any industry etiquettes when it comes any rules or regulations, or whether you all check what are being done. Because when it comes to the academia, we obviously check plagiarism, and we have a method of identifying whether it is unique, or even copying is not the exact idea here, but getting ideas is good, but copying is not good. So how does the industry find this when it comes to applications?
Yeah, so there are things like, obviously from a legal side, you have patents and copyrights and things like that will protect somebody's idea, right? So if it's a innovative idea, you want to have the rights for that for a period of time, you can go and get a patent so that idea can be protected. Nobody else can use it for a period of time. If it's software, it can be copyrighted, so that again people can't plagiarize it and really use your idea to build a different business or benefit from your idea. So there are legal ways of protecting your ideas or your inventions in a business, right? I think the point about adapting and copying, the copying in a broader sense, and a lot of people build on each other's ideas, right? So you might have a idea and you want to kind of build on it, and then you pivot into something else. You start with something, but then you see when you get the user reaction to that idea or user reaction to that product, you might start thinking, okay, that's not how the user is behaving. It's not the way that I thought initially, right? So you do a lot of things, what's called hypothesis testing with the users, and then you can adapt the idea into a new way, right? The important thing is to really get started and put an idea on the ground, create some sort of a prototype, and then put it in front of users. And the only way to learn about something is really prototyping it and putting it in front of the users. Because you can have a whole bunch of ideas and you may think that works, but really till the user put their hands on it and then really look at it, and you will not know exactly whether your idea is a great one or not to do that. So I think the prototyping and testing and things like A/B testing, different variation of the idea, pivoting, all these are different ways that you take an idea or a company forward to make sure there is a good, what's called a product market fit, right? And then once you understand the product market fit, then obviously you can build from that. It's a continuous journey of trying, testing, and pivoting and really making it relevant, right? And the user preferences changes, user behavior changes. So it's not once you do once and that's not the end of it, right? You have to keep innovating, keep inventing, and really it's about being relevant, right, to your user and the community that what you're building the product for, and how do you become relevant. And that comes through a lot of experimentation, comes through hypothesis testing, comes through really being with the user and really connecting, right? And that's a very important part of building anything, not only mobile app, any application.
Thank you, sir. So that was a couple of questions that I had when it comes to ideation part, and because ideation is an important initial step that anyone has to do before actually stepping onto a project. Maybe this competition, maybe something else, but before you actually step onto it, it is important to ideate. So now, getting on to a little bit of technological stuff that are related. So I would like to ask Mr. Yacinta Pereira on, because I have like a couple of students have asked me actually. So though we present this, since we present this as innovative application development competition, they have this question on whether it should be a desktop application or a mobile application. So combining the user experience and innovativeness and ease of building as well onto one. So will you be able to provide a better answer to all those who had that question earlier? What is the best?
To answer that, I think first we need to identify who's the user we are going to build this app. So it can be desktop user. That means that I think desktop means the web application, right? So if you think or ERP system or something or any other that mostly user dealing with the web desktop. So then, okay, it is good for the user for going for the desktop app. Otherwise, mobile application are mostly trending in these days. So every company is trying to build their own mobile application. Also that because it is coming handy in the pocket. So I would say first we need to identify who's the user we are going to do the app, and so then onwards we can think about how to solve the problem. So desktop and mobile is a difference. I mean, when this comes to user flows, there's also the layout and the styles. So when you identify the user group, we can easily, okay, then we are going to solve this problem. So then number of screens are also going to be changed in the desktop and the mobile. So first, that my strong idea is, a strong point is that identifying the user group. So then onwards, we can carry on how to solve this problem. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So continuing on this question, if a person was to build an application for mobile users, and then they think that maybe the web users might also benefit from this. Is there a specific manner that they could use in order to not restrict their applications to either mobile or web, and to make it suitable to both?
I think it is depend on the time. So let's say we choose one platform, let's say mobile. So then we can build on our product, right, on the mobile-based product. So then, okay, then we might think, okay, this is going to be good for the web users also. Then we need to ask from the users actually. We can put a feedback form or that, okay, what do you think about this app? Would you like to have this in the web version? So we can get some user input. So user information and feedback. So then we can go for research. Okay, how to, and some kind of also what we call that collecting data from the forums. Also, we can help for that. So my idea is that we should collect some information from the user to give the app. Otherwise, we are wasting our time, also our money.
Yes. So thank you for that answer, sir. And my next question is actually to Mr. Haritha Tilakaratna. So, sir, one of the most important, yet I believe when it comes to these competitions and stuff, people hardly remember this point, security. So could you comment on what are the various security issues that might come when it comes to an application that is innovative? Like say for example that a person is trying to build the most innovative application in the world, and they are including all these extra features and everything into a single application, and they might probably forget increasing the security, and they might forget the security issues that might arise. Do you have any comment on that, and any guidance on how to solve them maybe?
Yes, that's a very important question, because these days we are more having a good attention on cybersecurity and data privacy and those things. So in those cases, like we have seen mobile devices, though we are using mobile devices a lot. So mobile devices has been the major key point on most of the security breaches today. That means like if there's a data breach has been happened, so in the loop, in somewhere, there's a mobile device which was not used or which was not occupied in a very, very secure manner. So in those cases, when it comes to application development, in mobile application development, building the information security and the data security is very vital. One of the things that may add to the previous question that you asked from Yacinta is because you were asking about like if we need to expand the app into a desktop application. We have a mobile application, and in the improvement life cycles, we want to improve, like we want to have a desktop application also running on that. In those cases, I would say when we developing a mobile application, the first thing would be identifying the business flow and make sure we have a very good back end developed in a very secure manner. That means like in most of the cases we have seen when we doing coding on a mobile application, most of the people in the project, so it might be in your final year researchers, what you do is you get some of the components from somewhere in the internet. Yeah, that's okay, but like in some cases you get some components from here and some open source components from another place, and just ping it up in a single phase and call it an application. But when it comes to those applications, there are many security vulnerabilities going to happen there. So I would say when we planning on developing a mobile application, the major thing would be having a backend which is pretty secure. For that, we can use some secure frameworks for mobile application development, or might be some, like when it comes to like authentication kind of things, we can use the authentication framework that is prevailing there, which can be used in a more secure manner. And when it comes to like most of the data collection and data storing parts, we have seen people tend to write their own like data SPs and all those things. Yeah, that's good, but we have to make sure we are adhering to the industrial guidelines of data storing and data handling. So those things are very vital things when it comes to ensuring we are not doing any data breaches within our mobile application. And another important factor is we should allow the user to know what sort of data that we are collecting from them and how we're going to use those data, and in which sort of things that we're going to store those data. And if we using that data for any user profiling and kind of things, we should like let the user know that we are using those data in those manners, because else that is not going to adhere with some of the latest industrial components like GDPR and those things too. So when it comes to security in mobile applications, I would say the major and the main part we have to concern is having a proper secure backend for the mobile application, and make sure we are accessing like the correct industrial guidelines and correct coding guidelines when it comes to like developing the application.
Well, thank you, sir. And it was actually really insightful, because when it comes to developing, as I said earlier, I believe Mr. Yacinta have something to add.
Yeah, I would like to add something to what
Yes.
Haritha mentioned. Also, okay, Haritha mentioned that we should be transparent, right? So I would like to add. So actually UX is not always just design and the flow. So actually it is the website or the app, the central hub your interaction and between your customers and you, right? So whether they whether they are coming to buy something or just scrolling or browsing the web. So they have their own individual experience when it is coming to the use to your app. So that is your engagement. So actually, good UX is that can make the product your break or make the brand. So and also would like to have some few points to raise regarding the security and the UX. So one is that encourage safety through the UX, right? So new device has logged in this account, please go through. If it is not you, please reset the password. And so those are the security things that we need to consider. And also that also some points that if it is a banking app, that it is a very critical security reason, right? So we need to show some point that don't share your OTP with anyone, that can be scam. So we need to consider those things, and we need to visualize those so users may aware that. Otherwise that we may have a stronger backend, but user is doing that brainless no-brainer thing in the app, that going to be not work. So this should be show around the app. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And I believe, continuing on this question, actually, I believe that Mr. Danika has personal experience on implementing applications that are required to be highly secure. So I hope that he will have some comments on my initial question as well. Could you comment on it, sir?
Sure. So in terms of the security, when it comes to a mobile application, as every mobile application is used by the mass audience or the people. So when it comes to the privacy, every mobile app developer or mobile app company should has a very, high responsibility of actually protecting the privacy of the users, people. So in technological aspect, mobile application always work on the client server architecture or the MEP architecture, right? So in that case, every time actually mobile app, if it is not a standalone application, it always actually communicate with the backend, communicate with the server. So it's very important to ensure the communication between your app, that means the client, and your backend, that means the server, is actually secured. Data integrity plays a major role when it comes to ensuring the privacy of your users. So that to ensure data integrity means that the data is not actually altered, not actually deferred by any middle party, or data is not actually destroyed, or actually the data is not actually corrupted. Right, so you have to make sure you have to ensure that technically some common practices that you can use is actually to always use SSL. When it comes to your backend communication with your app, always use encryption, that SSL, so that it provides an end-to-end encryption between your client and server. And then actually for extra security, you can actually have an encryption algorithm to encrypt the data by yourself within the app and between the client and the server. So for that also, we use with Telakuru, since it is actually used by millions of people, we are very strict at our security. So we actually use SSL, and in addition to the SSL, we use actually a public-private encryption between the client and server, so that actually there's no, even if actually a data, vulnerability happens, the data is not actually readable by any human, and it's completely encrypted between our client and the servers. So that is actually very critical to ensure. And as Haritha, as Yasinta mentioned, it's also very important to let your users know what you have done to ensure the security, ensure the privacy in your app, right? So some of you may have seen that there was actually a viral video going on about Helakuru's privacy and all that. So that was a major challenge for us actually, because we have taken all the necessary steps, but people has to perceive that, people have to believe that. So what we actually did, we made a knowledge base called Helakuru Facts, and we made it available through the app and also through the web, which includes everything in Sinhala in a normal non-tech person readable way, right? And we included that everything about what are the data being collected, how they are actually transmitted between our client and servers, and how they are stored, and how they are actually for what purposes they are being used, what purposes they are being not used, everything. So that is actually something we have to ensure by GDPR or Data Protection Act. The bill is coming soon, so we have to act anyways. But in letting your users know what you have done is actually very important to build the trust on them. Otherwise, you may have used all the security mechanisms, but people don't perceive that. Then actually they start to suspect, start to doubt about their data being used by these apps. So it's technically, it's important to ensure that the data is secure, the data integrity is secure. And then in terms of the user experience, it's important to let the users know what you have been taken for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And I wish to extend the same question to Mr. Madhu Ratnayake as well. But before continuing our discussion, since it has already been 1 hour here, our team is ready with a brief video on the heritage of Sri Lanka, because this project, it is not limited to the Sri Lankan participants, but also to the global participants. There are international participants that are here with us in this Zoom meeting as well, and there are more who have joined through other media links. So in order to give them an understanding on what Sri Lanka is, we have a very brief video ready. Well, yes, that is the beauty of Sri Lanka, and that is where international winner of the INCODE project will get the chance to visit. So, reminding on the competition, actually, the winner of the international category will get a chance to visit Sri Lanka under full sponsorship of Get Synced Club of SLTC. So be with us and make sure that you participate to the competition as well. So moving ahead with the questions that we were asking. So Mr. Madhu Ratnayaka, I actually got this question from listening to all these panel discussions, what our panelists had to say. So yeah, when even I remember personally that I had this issue when it comes to using WhatsApp application, because there was these rumors about this encryption and our data being used by other parties and everything. So when it comes to innovation, this might actually be an issue, because people who are using the application might be curious on what is the main goal of our data. Why are these people asking us to insert this data? So do you have any suggestions that our participants could use when it comes to developing the application and provide and convincing the users actually to show them that we are not using your data into anything illegal?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important aspect. I think Danica has already answered this. So there are two areas, right? One is the data privacy and making sure that you collect only the data that is required for your application to function, and then only use the data for what you say in your terms of use and privacy policy as what you will use for, right? So I think that's very, very important, that when you're building any application, whether it's a mobile or otherwise, that you have very clear privacy policy. Now, you are, by application developer or the company who is doing that, by regulation, you'll be liable if you're collecting data and if you're mishandling it, or even if you get leaked because you haven't secured the application, you will be liable for it, right? So it's very important that you state your policy and you state your privacy and terms of use, and then adhere to it. On top of that, you have to also safeguard the data, because if the data get leaked, especially what's called the personally identifiable data, which is called the PIIs, right? And which is like an email, name, phone numbers, identity card numbers and things like that, which can be used in to forge your identity online. That becomes very crucial, right? So with the new data privacy law comes in, you will be even more liable for it. So the first thing is to make sure that you have a good data privacy policy, you understand that, and then you adhere to it, and then you protect the data that you're collecting, and don't collect things more than what you require, right? Because if you start collecting more, your liability becomes higher, and you can get into unnecessary trouble. So that's an important thing. And then when you're building the application, we need to make sure that you build the security into application, right? There are techniques like SAST, static analysis techniques, dynamic analysis techniques of the code, to make sure that your code doesn't have security vulnerabilities. And once you build it, then you can do things like penetration testing or vulnerability testing of your application to make sure that all the known issues are kind of taken care of in doing that, right? Generally, what they say is that people who provides applications, or you're collecting your data and you're giving you a service free, right? Generally, what they say, if you are getting a free application, you are the product, right? They are using your data to either send advertisements or using your data to use for third party and things like that. So if an application is generally free, you will find that some data is being used. Your data is being used for some other activity, right? So that's something you should, as a user, worry about. If you're giving out data, your personal data willingly, that what is the purpose that is being used for, right? As you know, these digital footprints that we're leaving on the web and on the things can last for a long, long time, right? So you have to be really sure that you protect it. And with new regulation coming in, I think there's a lot more control in the end user's hand. You can ask for things like your right to be forgotten, right? You can request an application to say, okay, remove everything about me. I want to be forgotten from your application, right? Then your application provider is liable to provide that, cleanse your data from the application within a given period of time, right? These are kind of new regulation that are coming into our part of the world, which are really there in Europe and other places already. So it's a big responsibility as an app developer that you safeguard the privacy of data as well as to security of the data. It's a very important aspect.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And that was a discussion on setting up security in a mobile application. And my next question is actually targeted to Mr. Haritha Tilakaratne, because now when we consider our community, actually, sir, there are people who are interested in IoT, interested in AI, interested in embedded systems and whatnot. So since you have been in this deep learning and AI sector for a long time, and you have a much bigger experience in that area, I believe that you will be able to point out a few hints actually on pathways that our participants here could take when it comes to integrating these technologies with a mobile application. I am sorry, sir, but you are muted.
Sorry for that.
Yes.
That's a very good question, because I have seen most of the mobile application development projects that going on these days are more focused on adding some intelligence for that. So it is there's a term called as intelligent app development. That means you have kind of some AI components going with your mobile application, or might be some IoT devices connected with your mobile application that get their sensor data, or something that has been censored are getting processed in your mobile application. Yeah, those things are there. When it comes to this kind of integrations happening inside a mobile application, the major thing you have to look on is the architecture that you are using for the app development. Plus, are you using the computation power that you have on your mobile device to do these computations? We all know when it comes to like AI-based model inferencing, or like AI service running on, so you need a very good computation power. Obviously, yes, we have a good computation power, like a good, sometimes a mini GPUs inside the mobile devices, but yeah, they are not capable of running the state-of-the-art deep learning models, or maybe the machine learning models that we have. So what we have seen in most of the cases is the AI service, or maybe the service that having these intelligent capabilities are hosted on a server, and we are accessing that through an API. So that's what we have seen in most of the mobile application. But there are some cases where we do the processing inside our device, or inside our mobile device. So in those cases, we have to make sure the AI components or the AI models that we develop are mobile friendly. There are many ways to do those things. So if you take the popular deep learning frameworks like TensorFlow, or maybe in PyTorch, there are ways to have those things in mobile friendly ways. Also in the iOS platform, there are ways that you can have the ML capabilities in the mobile devices. Plus, in TensorFlow, they have the TensorFlow Lite or the TensorFlow mobile versions. Plus, in PyTorch also, we have the mobile-friendly versions on that. And also the recent advancements in deep learning, they have the mobile-friendly ONNX framework kind of things, where you can have faster inferencing in the mobile devices. So we normally call this thing as doing the AI in the edge, or it is similar for doing like AI capabilities in edge devices like IoT sensors and all. So I would say when it comes to like adding these AI capabilities into these kind of mobile applications, one of the major things to consider is the computation power we're going to leverage, and the next thing is how we're going to do the computation, whether we're going to use a service that is hosted on a server, or else we're going to do the computation on our own mobile. So there might be a latency happening when it comes to like accessing the server side things, but that may be the only option that we have to go on in some cases. And the next part is I have seen in some cases when we developing the mobile applications, we tend to develop all the components by our own. That means we'll say you have to have a image classification model that is, or image classification service that is running on your mobile device. For an example, we'll say you are developing an app which can identify the NICs, national identity card, and the differentiate that with the driver's license that we have in Sri Lanka. So we'll say if you get the mobile and point the mobile for any card, the mobile should be able to capture an image from the camera and tell whether this is an NIC or might be a driver's license. A simple app like that. You may wonder like, okay, in this case, we have to build an image classification model from the beginning. No, you are not. There are plenty of services out there which is running on clouds like Google Cloud or might be on Microsoft Azure that you can use just with some drag and drops and some simple model training. You can get the models done in few minutes might be, and that can be easily exposed as a REST API, which can be used on your mobile application by just with a few server calls. So when you're planning on developing that kind of components, make sure you are not doing anything that has been done before. That means if that has been done before, like as said previously, if the wheel has invented before, you should not invent the wheel again. You should do some improvement on that only. So make sure you are not doing the thing that someone has done before. So make sure you are using the services in the correct manner, and make sure you are doing the computations in the correct place. And the next thing is, when it comes to adding these technologies like IoT and AI, or might be the deep learning or the machine learning components, make sure that privacy that we have been talking a lot should be ensured there. So if you're collecting the data for your model training, make sure you let the user know that you are collecting the data for this kind of actions, or let the user know you are using this thing to improve your app engagement or the app performance. You should let the user know those things. And the other thing I have seen that is about like AI model development and those kind of things. And then when it comes to IoT sensors and plus wearables, because I have seen some of the mobile applications that we have today is getting the data from wearables, the smart watches, or might be fit bands kind of things. So make sure you have the proper connectivity with those things, and you are maintaining a secure connection with those IoT devices. Those are the crucial factors you have to consider when it comes to integrating your mobile applications with AI or the IoT kind of trends.
Yes, thank you, sir. And so I believe that though even I personally believe that integrating all these technologies together and building an application is hard, and that is hard. It is not so, and there are many easier ways in order to get that done. And so I believe that our competitors and even those who are planning on going on this path will have a better experience through what Mr. Haritha had to say. And my next question is to Mr. Yasinta, and I believe Mr. Danika will also have something interesting to add on to this. So Mr. Yasinta, as you are user experience strategist and you are in this area, I'm asking you this first. Do you have any suggestions on how a person can develop an application that will, finally improve the demand of it. So maybe through increased user experience or so certain features that are very popular these days, how could a person increase the demand for the application through its techie side?
Yeah, I can answer for that. There's a actually it is really from my side. It is really the UX. So some points are the so when we are designing app, so we should minimize the cognitive load, because the human brain has the limited amount of processing power, and when our app provide much more information at once, it might overwhelm the user, and that then the user might get frustrated. So it is then the user is abandoned the task. So it is not good. So we need to reduce the so minimize the cognitive load, and also the reduce the clutter. So clutter is the worst enemy of the good design. So by cluttering your design interface, you overload the user with the too many information, right? So every added button, image, icon doesn't make sense then. So we need to reduce the clutter and show exact what information we should show and what are the inputs we need to get from the user in the clear UI. And also break the task into the bite-sized chunks. So let's say we have a long form. So we need to get the user's input. So let's say the payment information, personal information, and addresses likewise. So it is for my suggestion for that kind of getting so many information at once. So this is going to be frustrated to users. So we need to reduce this. So the solution is the break that form into few steps. So personal information, then the payment information, likewise that we can reduce the clutter and show in the exact information we are going to get from the user. And also use the so nowadays we have a lot of app in the market also that users are more familiar with the apps what we have today. So use familiar screen and the placement. So such as screen as nowadays most app has that getting started and search result page. Also that search icon placement is mostly in the top right. So users know that I need to find something. Okay, I'm scrolling up and see, click the search button. So these are the important facts. Also, I want to show that use the what we call that minimize the user input. So use smart features such as autocomplete. For example, filling out an address. Now Google has this, right? So we can automatically fill the address. So they have their function, right? So we can use that. So don't need to develop again, but we can use existing one and users more familiar with that. For me, I'm always filling the address by that or the payment information. So yeah, and also for one more tip. So when you are entering the phone number, so use the correct QWERTY keyboard. That when we are using touch device, so we have two keyboard types, right? So one is the full keyboard, one is the numeric keyboard. So use the relevant keyboard at that when we are in the relevant page, and what are the information we need. For phone numbers, it is going to be numeric, so it is getting easy for user to enter the phone number. For address, okay, it is the full number keyboard. Sorry. Full keyboard likewise. Also I would like to add that to demand the mobile app, so we need a consistent design actually. So nowadays we have major platform like iOS and Android, right? So basically they have different kind of interaction and the animation and how they are and the styles. So yeah, so when you are designing a Android app, so based on the Android guidelines, don't touch the iOS and put that going to be okay. I'm going to oh, this is nicer checkbox I should use in my Android app. So don't do that. So it is going. So it's kind of getting not matching with the theme, and it is not going to be consistent. So use the consistent design. So likewise respect the platform guidelines. Then also I need to highlight this. This is the last not but least, that design for an accessible interface. That means that so we are humans, but we are not everyone is same. So some kind of considers how many users that having the vision loss and the hearing loss, also that colorblind. So we need to be smart and to find out and design for that our design is suitable for every human. So especially for colorblind, and so we need to choose relevant colors that not mixing. So then they are in a trouble. So let's say that we have a success message and error message in the some kind of similar colors, but the colorblind person is seeing it as a one color. So it is going to be a problem. So we need to specify and use the correct colors. So there's a website for color contrast checker. So we call it WCGA, and it is the that world class that using for this kind of test. So it will help us. Yeah, those are the things in my mind. Yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Yasinta and Mr. Danika. So when it comes to your mobile applications, I personally am a person who uses them. So please do not sue me for asking your business tips, but how did you manage to demand it to make us all need this app? How did you get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I would really love to answer that question, because I mean, there's something that many doesn't know about our products. Of all of our products, I am actually the UI UX designer, right? So many doesn't know that, but I would love to answer that question. For to make a mobile application or any kind of a software appeal to the users, or actually attractive to users, to make it useful for the users, the first point is actually you have to understand the end user. You have to empathize the end user, right? A skill called empathy really matters here. Right, empathy means not sympathy, right? Not being about sad about others, but empathy means I mean, most of the students may not know the meaning of empathy. That's why I'm explaining. Empathy is actually, I mean, looking at a thing in others' eyes, right? Being sensitive to the others, looking at it in their shoes, right? So when it comes to developing a pleasant or attractive or a usable application or a software, you have to be your user. You have to think as your user, right? Then only you will see, okay, this is what I will expect if I be the user of this product, right? So I do it myself many times, because I am a user of Elakuru, I am a user of Pay Here, I am a user of all of our products. So I always think about, okay, as a user, what is my expectation, what I would like to see. So that is actually your first point. I mean, in your process of designing your product, that should be the first way. And then actually the second thing, which we follow very significantly, be simple as possible, right? I mean, it's not that the today's software is not about actually providing all the features that you have into one bundle, right? Make it as simple as possible for a user to get the thing done, right? So they get the thing done that they need in the simplest way, right? In the simplest way, with the minimum number of clicks, minimum number of taps, with the minimum number of user inputs, as has been mentioned, right? Make it simple as possible. Simplicity is all about that, right? And it's something like, I mean, if you see an aeroplane, right? If you see a aircraft, back in the days, you see the dashboard, right? Up, down, front, left,
Yes.
right. Everywhere there are actually, I mean, the levers and buttons and all that everywhere. right? But if you've seen actually the recent rocket by SpaceX, right, which actually the human travel to the space station, right? It only has actually few digital screens, right? Maximum 3 digital screens and few actually buttons in their hands, right? That is actually the simplicity that today's users expect, right? They don't actually bother how many number of capabilities, how many number of features that I can use, or how many number of settings that I can change and use, right? It's actually, that's why I told in the beginning, you should empathize what is their expectation. If you don't have the empathy, if you don't do the right, if you don't actually empathize, then actually you will end up with providing all the things so that you will assume that okay, they will actually set it as they prefer and they then use. That will not going to happen in today's world, right? Because people always seek for convenience, right? So if it actually has a significant effect, empathizing what is actually the real expectation of your user and providing exactly that. And you can have few settings, few preferences that they can actually customize, but it should be actually the other way around. Make it simple as possible, right? And that is actually one thing, a very major thing that we follow. And in terms of actually the mobile, how the mobile is actually very different, than the desktop environment when it comes to the user experience, right? Because, if you develop a web application or a desktop one, the most human interaction will be done using the keyboard or the mouse, right? So when it comes to the mouse, you can place buttons and clickable areas anywhere in your screen because the mouse does the job for the user, right? And you can actually have keyboard entries because it's convenient for a desktop user to use the keyboard even without touching the mouse, right? But when it comes to the mobile, you have to be especially careful to show the most relevant or the most needed information on the screen, because the screen is very limited, right? Screen is very limited, and what you can show is very limited. What you can enter is very limited, and even when the keyboard pops up, even the keyboard again takes 1/3 of the screen, right? So then your application components will only be in the 2/3 of your screen, right? So that's why actually it's very important to minimize the steps of the user to get something done, and to minimize the inputs, right? Always use autofills and auto reading, everything in the smart ways, right? And then actually to place the buttons, especially when placing the clickable things, because we no one use phone now with both of the hands, right? Until you are in actually the washroom, you don't actually use your both hands, right? So every time we use the mobile with one hand. But one hand, and the tappable thing will be only one finger, this finger, right? So all of your actually the clickable things, it's better to have in this fingers clickable areas, so it will be actually a nice experience for the users. So that's few tips that I can share with regard to what we have experienced and what we have actually practically applying for our products and services.
Yes, I believe that is more than enough for a student to, start thinking newly. And so thank you, sir, as well for sharing your thoughts. And this is the last question for the forum as well. And I believe that Mr. Madhu will be capable to answer it. But I have to say that anyone who has experience in this regard, please feel free to answer, sir, because I believe that this might be an important question to the students actually, because when it comes to the mobile applications and whatever that they develop, so where does the students find a place to market it? How should they think about marketing it or actually bringing it to the society? How can they get it done?
Yeah, I think the good news about maybe Danica can probably give you a better answer to this than that, but I'll give you a first cut. Right, he's done this for millions of users. So So I think the good news about mobile apps is that you already have an app store and you have a distribution channel, right? And mostly a lot of the apps can get distributed through that channel. And if you're kind of getting to some of the ratings of the app stores, your likelihood of getting notice is very high. Right? The other way, obviously, to do is to make sure that you build the app in a way that it's referenceable and the people want to talk about it, right? And I think the best marketing that you can have for any application is the application itself, right? If it's beautifully designed, if it's great, and it's something that people love to talk about, that creates the viral effect, right? And I think that should be the ultimate goal of any developer or any designer, to create an app that people love to talk about. That's the cheapest way of marketing anything, right? And if you get the user to fall in love with it, and then they start sharing, your marketing dollar can be, your marketing spend can be zero, right? And so if you really spend the energy in really building some beautiful experiences, and then your product will be developed. The third way is really obviously using some social media marketing and things like that to really get your product out there, to promote that through different groups. If it's I'm talking about global apps, if you're building a global app, right? Because you don't have the ability to reach out in a physical way. But if you're a local app, obviously there are a lot of different local channels that you can use. So these are some of the ways I think you can do. Maybe Danika, you can add more to this.
Absolutely. I completely agree with what Madhu said about actually, product itself is actually your best marketing channel. We actually experienced that with Helakuru. To date, to date, we haven't actually done any promotion, any actually, marketing communication, forcing the users to download Helakuru. Okay, there's an app like this, download this. I mean, we see a lot of actually advertisement like that, right? But they have a very hard time actually forcing the users to do that. But what should be your strategy is actually creating the value, creating a unique value that the users will perceive that, okay, this app is benefiting me. This app is useful to me. I need this app for this purpose, right? That is actually what you should do with regard to making your product itself as a marketing tool, right? So when we actually start Helakuru 10 years back, it actually solved a problem that no one has ever solved before. That is actually writing Sinhala on digital, right? So because it actually filled a market gap, which actually, it was a no option situation for the users to, because there was no solution, no other solution available to fill that gap, right? To solve that problem. So actually, the biggest way that Helakuru grown from 0 to 1 million to 5 million to 10 million, right? Recently we passed 11 million downloads, right? So the best marketing strategy was actually, marketing tool actually was actually the word of mouth, positive word of mouth. Because if a user feels that this is actually useful to me, and if they actually feels that, okay, this will be useful to my friends and family as well, they will actually do the marketing job for you, right? That's how actually Helakuru acquired this much of user base in such a short little of period, right? And again, actually another thing, you have to make sure to keep that. Sustaining the users is a major challenge that many mobile applications have. There's actually a ratio of about 1/10 of your download count will only sustain, or we will only keep in engaging with your app, right? So for Helakuru, we have maintained it about half actually. We have out of 11 million downloads, we have about 4.5 million active users still. But that's not the case with many of the other mobile applications, right? It's very hard to keep the users. So to keep the users, you have to actually always keep improving, always keep growing, always introducing new stuff, new features, empathizing the users' emerging needs, right? You may have seen actually how Helakuru starting as a keyboard app, but actually evolved by the time as a super app by providing the demanding facilities, right? During the pandemic period, we provided the breaking news services digitally and health services, the corona stats, and then actually when the people actually was not able to go out during the pandemic period, we providing reload facilities through the app, bill payment facilities, everything actually hit it in the right way, because at the right time we introduced those services in our journey to making Helakuru from a single purpose app to a multi-purpose super app, right? So by doing that continuous innovations, continuous introduction, continuous improvements, we could actually sustain our users, who actually keep our users with us continuously, right? And as Madhu said, the other strategies are anyways actually using digital advertising, but these days, unless you actually provide the unique value to the user, unique usefulness to the user, it's very hard to actually force the users to install a new app, right? Because the practical sense, all of our mobile devices are now filled with apps. The storage, mostly the mass market, right? The people who have low-end phones, mid-end phones, their actually storage are already filled with photos, their day-to-day photos, videos, and all that. And they have actually very reluctant to install a new app, because it costs your storage, it costs your battery power, all the things. Right? So it's very hard unless you actually provide a unique value to the users. If you provide that unique value, if you provide that unique usefulness, they will actually definitely get it. And also they will do the word of mouth marketing part to you as well.
Yes. So thank you very much, sir. And sharing my personal experience with you, I was with Helakuru during the whole pandemic quarantine period, because we had all the news updates. It was faster than news. It was faster than news, actually. So yes, I believe
that is actually the power of digital. All of you are actually using the digital, the capabilities of digital. So yes. Everyone actually comment on that. Because, one thing is actually we don't have hierarchies, for a news to come to a news, TV or radio, there is a hierarchical process that to get the approval and push. But in our case, it's actually the reporter itself. You report the news on our platform digitally, and it's just one click at the approval, review and the approval. It will be pushed to the entire base. So that's actually the power that you can use with mobile apps and digital technology.
Yes, so I believe that our participants here learned a lot from the industrial experts on how to build their applications and maybe how to market them as well, if they are capable to, if they are willing to get it into that level. So that brings us to the end of our panel discussion, and I need to thank Danica Pereira, Mr. Haritha Tilakaratna, and Mr. Jacinta Pereira for taking time off your very busy schedules and being with us here today on a Friday evening, because I believe that the Friday is the most expected day of the entire week. And so thank you very much for being with us here. And it was a little bit difficult to get this panel discussion together as well, because even as you can see now, there are a minimum number of participants, because with all these power cuts going on, though we had around 200 plus participants in the first discussion, we are short of participants in this one, but that's okay, because they can get back to what we discussed and have a look through our discussion once again, because we streamed it live through the social media applications as well. And a brief news on our competition updates, because if there are participants here who have not joined to the WhatsApp groups that have been formed for the competition, please do join with these groups as soon as possible, because the competition rules and regulations and all the updates will be shared with through these platforms. So make sure that you do not hesitate to get onto one of these WhatsApp groups and keep in touch with us. So once again, thank you very much, sirs, for being with us here today, and have a very good night and a pleasant weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.